Welcome to another episode of Healing Money Talks. My name is Emma Lucy Wall, and as usual, I invite you to turn your phone onto airplane mode, put the kettle on, make yourself a nice warm drink, find a comfortable place to sit and relax and listen really deeply to the conversation that's about to unfold. You never know what you might hear. So my very special guest today is Iesha Delune. Iesha is a transformational life coach. She is deeply moved by supporting people to embody their spirituality in order that their spiritual truth matches their outer circumstances. When we were talking about this just before we started to record, Iesha said, you know what I mean? People who have these beautiful spiritual practices and then they end up being in relationships where they're not seen or understood, and they go to jobs that they don't like, and they have a load of fear around money. Iesha is the author of 2 books. The Answer, which is the instruction manual we were never given for this life, and The Happiness Recipe, which helps the reader discover the ingredients they need to thrive in their whole lives by embracing their uniqueness. Iesha has recently created a new branch to her business, Enlightened Money Management, which supports people to better manage their personal and business finances. And she's finding that the effects of this work on her clients is that they're experiencing a significant increase to money coming into their lives and their businesses. Iesha, welcome, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
That last little sentence that I just read out of your bio is really fascinating to me. And I wonder what you think might be going on, that there's suddenly this increased money coming into these businesses and lives.
Well, let's think first of all about the very layered relationship that people have with money. So there's people that have some shame around it. There's people that have, even if they earn really, good money, whatever that means, that's, depends on perspective. But perhaps it's all going into one account. It's a little bit messy. They buy things without really kind of thinking about can they afford it, or they don't buy things. So, I'm trying to describe a really layered thing succinctly and not doing particularly well. But there's shame, there's disorganization, there's a bit of a sense to money like the bottom drawer that a lot of us have in the kitchen, where we just shove everything in there and we don't really look. And some of us have even decided that it's not very spiritual to even have it as a focus. And I find with the people that are attracted to money management, there's a lot of what I would call mess, not with judgment, but just it's kind of messy. Personal finances, business finances, everything's all in one spot. And they often, there isn't that kind of organization and planning. So when I come along and give a whole lot of love, first of all, like wherever you are is perfect. And it's the launching pad for where we're going, which is empowered, grounded, love-filled prosperity. There's a certain relaxation that happens when someone has a partner on the journey, instead of money being this secret thing. So I think that invites the energy in. There's also something really significant when someone chooses to prioritize an area of their life. All of a sudden there's more energy in it. And what tends to happen is effectively like we've emptied out the bottom drawer on the bench, and they go, oh, well, it's not as bad as I thought. And there's some really useful things in there. So it kind of releases a lot of shame. So people do a lot of, ooh, when I go into their, bank accounts and help sort things out. But I go, no, this is how it is. And we create a structure. So we create a structure so that there's always money for staff, or for rent, or for mortgage, or for tax. So it's very, very organized, and money is allowed to accumulate for those larger expenses. And so the money you pay yourself is for you. And we stop what I call, and this is potentially insensitive and I apologize, but we stop what I call financial bulimia, which is like you pay yourself and then you've got to put that money back into the business and then you pay yourself, but then you've got to put drawings back in to buy this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like we actually allow the money that you pay yourself to deeply nourish your life. So when you think about those things together, it's like all of a sudden there's organization. You never fear a bill coming in. You
Mm.
don't fear tax time. You're always paying yourself, and that owner pay is there for good. Or if you have a job, the part that's for your fun gets to be for your like guilt-free fun. Imagine what that does with the energy of money. All of a sudden there's this deep sense of security that
Yeah.
everything that needs to be paid for is paid for. There's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no mess. And the money that you're using to enjoy, you really enjoy. And so to me, this sends a signature to money that you're more connected with the energy of money. You're having more fun with money. You feel more secure with money.
Mhm.
And as we were saying before, to me, this creates an energetic signature that you more can flow in, and you know where it's going and what it's doing, and there's more joy in it as well. That's my big long answer. I think to me, energetically, it makes sense.
Yeah, and there's a lot in the money in the teachings around money that money really loves a home. It likes to know where it's going.
Mm.
And and I guess just taking control. We were talking as well about the relationship, your own personal journey, which is really quite I guess the foundation to all of this maybe. So
Yes.
do you want to tell them about your $4 book?
Oh, beautiful. So I've been in business for myself for 17 years.
Hmm.
Many different things. Started as a healer, and through counseling and courses and empowerment and life coaching, and like many of us lifelong learners, there's lots. I'm always learning. So 17 years is a long time to be in business. But if I was to sum up my relationship with money, it had a lot of feast and famine.
Hmm.
um, and when there was lack, particularly for 10 years of that time, I was a single mum. So, and I didn't have financial support of some loaded ex where money was coming in. Like I had to do it myself. So, um, and when there was lack, I would go into this massive, like completely ignoring any signals from my body, and I would just go into massive action that would create big results, but it was also completely unsustainable. So when money came in, I went, oh, thank God. And then stopped all the massive action. And then like it was just this kind of,
Hmm.
cycle of boom and bust and boom and bust. And when I would have those booms, I would often go, right, I need this to be the new normal. And I would hire more and more and more expensive coaches, thinking that they would have this answer. And I'd be committed to some payment plan to them that didn't work in the bust cycle. And I was trying to be a great mum. And so you can feel that energy signature, a little bit of the mess that I was talking about
Hmm.
before. And when I came into Sarah McCrum's work and she invited me into the idea to think about my relationship with money like it was a relationship with another human being,
Yeah.
it began a very, very different energetic connection for me with the energy of money. Now, I would have, hand on heart, and my truth at the time on the surface of my being would have been that, I had a gratitude journal, and I was grateful and I was doing all the things.
Hmm.
If I was very honest now, which I could be, I was doing all the things and I like to tick things off. I was doing all the things, but I was doing it with this layered expectation, at which came with a lot of disappointment.
Mm.
So I would put energy into all the things, and I would be deeply disappointed when money didn't deliver,
Hmm.
which created, some. I, I didn't have a really great separation between where I finished and my business began. So it used to really rock my self-esteem if I had some low running business months, even if it was because my children were sick, even if there was perfectly good reasons.
Yeah.
It felt like when my connection with money wasn't good, I wasn't good, and I made it mean all these really devastating things. So what I realized in that connection between me and money is that I was honestly behaving like a really ungrateful partner.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm doing this for you, this for you, this for you. Where's my stuff?
Yeah.
Right. And it's not like it had this real, and it's not like money asked me to do this, this, and this. It's like saying to your partner, I did this for you, this for you, this for you. Why
Mm-hmm.
haven't you done this? And it's like the partner's got every right to go, well, I never asked you to do those things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even like them. Kind of. So anyway, so there was that realization. And underneath all of that, I realized this deep sense of not enoughness that really pervaded even the energy that I brought to doing the things. It was inspired by not enoughness.
Mm-hmm.
And even when at that point in my life, my, coaching packages were, I mean, they were fantastic transformational packages with an investment for the client. So it was, there was good money. I had a 6-figure coaching business in terms of what was going on inside my practice. But what I noticed is because of the financial commitments I would make and all of these things that I would do in the cycle,
Mm-hmm.
when money came in, even if like I had a $5,000 day and I'd go, oh, gratitude, gratitude. Underneath that was this energy of not enough. That doesn't pay for what I'm owing. And there's not enough to pay what's outstanding. And I would always have this list of what was needing to go out. And when what came in didn't
Wasn't.
cover that, there was this really constant sense of not enoughness, even when I was having these amazing months.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to describe where I was before the
Yeah.
$4 book moment. And anyway, so in terms of understanding this relationship with money and wanting to be more loving and being more grateful, I had this moment, and I was very, very vulnerable in the lead up to this moment. I'd been having a bit of, do you know what I mean? I was in the down part of the boom and bust cycle, even though across the year I had a very healthy 6-figure coaching business. I was in the tip of it. And I'd had all these stories, and having 2 books, I had all these stories about what happens when you sell a book. And we won't go into that. But, I had this day where I got a notification from the second publisher, the Happiness Recipe publisher, that someone somewhere had bought my book, and $4 had come into my bank account. And it's like my heart and soul opened and received that $4, and it felt like $1 million. Like and let's take the figures out of it, because that's not the bit that matters. But it was like, I was so grateful for the very first time, truly deeper, like toes deep, that money flowing into my life, instead of, and I don't want to pollute this beautiful heart moment, but instead of that old story of that I used to have around, like, cost me this much money to, and that doesn't, blah, blah, blah. It was like, I was so grateful,
Mm-hmm.
really deeply, like happy tears, beautiful. And it opened up it was like from that moment on, it's like when you experience soul deep love with someone, you realize your previous loves were a level that at the time felt as big as it could be. And then you have a deeper experience and you go, oh, wow. And that was my experience with gratitude in that moment. It's like I've got tingles in my arms. It was like, oh, I'm so grateful, so grateful. And it opened up this month where I think I had 8 clients, 7 or 8. And it's so funny because old me would have known the details of the story. And I was like, I've kind of released attachment to the details. But 7 or 8 clients sign up for my highest end package that month, that had never happened ever before. And there was it just opened up this stream of receiving from this just kind of bone deep gratitude for every little bit. And it's like I saw my house differently. I had this story about how my house wasn't big enough and it wasn't this and it wasn't that. It's like I have a beautiful home in a coastal town in, the south of Australia. It is it like my life is filled with abundance that I was not seeing. And
Mm.
it really was, it kind of sounds funny for the $4 book story, but it was really life changing. It just opened up my understanding of what it was like to partner with money and to be and say thank you. Like how amazing that someone I don't even know is receiving the wisdom that my soul wanted to share. And there was $4,
And
like how amazing.
so that last little piece that you said about how amazing that somebody's experiencing my wisdom, that it sounds to me like there was a real shift in your value of yourself then.
Yes. 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 But like as a secondary or a thirdary, whatever, like as a it's not a word.
Tertiary, I think.
But the first thing was the gratitude. And I think there was just layers of other benefits off to the side.
Mm.
It's a really interesting thing to have mirrored back actually. But yes. Mm.
Well, often the inability to receive is associated with our lack of deep valuing of ourselves, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. And I think I was so busy with that internal commentating voice tracking for not enoughness.
Mm-hmm.
And because I did all the things,
Yeah.
it's like all the spiritual practices and all the things that marketing person said and all the things and all the things. So it's like when you do all the things from a place of disconnection from self,
Mm-hmm.
you can do all the things in the world. And to be honest, it just made the disappointment of that hope and disappointment cycle all the more devastating.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like I do things from this deep place of gratitude. And to be honest, I'm doing less.
Yeah.
Um, and there's so much more time. Like from that moment onwards, it's like it kind of opened up. Sometimes I just go and lie in the grass,
Yeah.
or
I've had
when
conversations with you where your inner being has been saying, "Just relax, Aisha," and you relax, and the
yeah,
money
what,
drops
what
into
can
your
I
account.
do? Ask for guidance. Like what's the best thing I can do in my business? How can I contribute to the human collective? Today. And sometimes it's go to the beach, relax. When COVID first began in March, I started having like a day bath most weekdays, like in the middle of the workday. And it really made a difference. That really relaxing. But yes, the pivotal moment was that moment of deep gratitude around receiving and changing that whole inner story. It was such a powerful moment. And the self-value piece is really interesting because I haven't consciously joined all of that together. But
Mhm.
yeah.
It does, just the way you told it back there. The piece about the thinking about the person reading your book,
Mm.
because that's why you wrote it, wasn't it? To give that
Yes.
gift to somebody,
Yes. Yes.
and it obviously got lost in your whatever your busyness or your that sense of lack.
Yes. Yeah. The not enough. The not
Mm.
enough.
And that not enough thing invariably starts with us, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Marissa
Yes.
Peer famously, "You are enough, you are enough."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I mean, what does that even mean? Like the whole, I mean, we always live our work. I don't know. I mean, to me, that is my life experience. Is we have these experiences, and these experiences around money. Who knows? Might end up being book 3. We live our work. But the whole message in the happiness recipe was wanting people to understand that they're unique, and
mhm,
that as a unique being, we have unique ingredients to thrive. You have a happiness recipe deep within you, and it's our job to, do you know what I mean? To discover that, understanding that it's not going to be the same as the person next to you or the person next to them. Um, and so that acceptance of your uniqueness is in there. So it's
yeah,
like I lived that before I wrote the book, and then it seems like the book continues to give to me
mhm.
as you live it, write it, live it some more. So I'm not ready for book 3 yet. But it's like, yes, that embracing who you truly are, to stop trying to be a tropical fish that's swimming around in Tasmania because that's where the cool kids are. It's like, you know what? You're a tropical fish, just rock it. But that means you stay in warm
Yeah.
water. Like, it's, being who we are. So it's really interesting actually to have this conversation and think of it all together like you're offering.
Mm, yeah. You've inspired me. And in every conversation that we've had, I've come away from we don't get to talk often enough because we're half a day apart, but but it is so lovely to connect with you and to hear your story and how it continues to grow and how you're now sending it out. I love the idea of what you're doing with the enlightened money management, because it's obviously something that you have a natural aptitude for as well.
Yes, and it is a light up. Like, I've always loved in my coaching packages are based on, empowerment in practical life. So the opportunity to help people with budgets and money management has been a theme through a lot of the 17 years. But I really wanted more. Like, I'm a learner, so I'm
Mm.
always learning. So investing last year in training with Profit First, which is, don't be put off by the name. It's not about make money at all costs, but it's
Mm.
just around making sure that you pay yourself first and that you run a business that actually honors how much time you put in. It's kind of so that you're not being the best employee in your business, getting paid the least.
Yeah.
Investing in that training so I could help, businesses that are more complicated than mine to also get those same results was just a really natural progression. And I love it. Like, I love helping people with their relationship with themselves and their relationship with their loved ones. And I love people helping people, get embodied in the sensuality of life. But money is this beautiful ingredient that can enhance all of that. And it is a light up thing. I do really love it. And especially my most recent client is 22 years old, really spiritual, amazing young woman earning money in her full-time job. But it's like, it's kind of going everywhere. She had, some shame around what she was choosing to spend it on. And it's been so beautiful to give her this grounded, practical understanding through the lens of her spiritual belief systems that she can apply it to money. And
Mhm.
she came along and she goes, "Oh, I was expecting you to be like really stuffy and boring." And I'm like, "No, it's, we can do this stuff in yoga pants and we can do it. We can be practical and energetic at the same time." So it is, I do. I love it. Love it.
And what would your takeaway be? What would you give as a gift to anybody listening to this, who is struggling with their relationship with money, who can never seem to make ends meet or charge as much as they'd like to charge, or what advice would you give them?
Look, there's about 15 competing ideas. I think the thing I want to say is to think of your relationship with money as a lifelong adventure. I think particularly when we're struggling, we're in the part of our brain that wants kind of immediate relief or results. That's just what that part of the brain
Yeah.
is designed to do. And so this is where the relax ingredient is so important, and just stretch out the timeline a bit. Think of it like a relationship with a garden. So it's like right now, if you moved into a garden and the backyard is just plain and empty, it wouldn't help to be in that garden and be all stressed about what's not there. You might think about, okay, what do I want there? So you'd be intentional, and then you'd plant some things and you'd water them and you'd have a bit of a system. What's the most important thing? Maybe grass so that mud doesn't go in the house. So that's the most important thing. How can I do that? Have a plan like you would a garden, because money is part of life.
Mm.
Yes, there's those wonderful stories. I have a girlfriend that became a multi-million dollar multimillionaire overnight because her grandma's next door neighbor died and left her grandma all this money. So there are those amazing stories, and we all want to be the recipient of those stories, but they're not necessarily, I'm a yes for that.
Did she stay a millionaire?
No.
No, because often they don't, do they? People, lottery winners nearly
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
tumble back to exactly where this, because we're not actually energetically ready.
Yes. Whereas
Or,
if you do the garden, do you know
mm,
what I mean? Yeah. So
mm,
it's like, think of it like a garden. It's like, what am I planting? What am I nurturing? All the times in my life where I've been like, I need this much money to come in today, or it never was actually true that it had to come in that day. There
yeah.
was always a way of ringing and going, look, could I make a payment plan? Could I do this? It's like taking that,
Mm,
coming out of the part of your brain that does stress, and just think about it like a garden. If you allow yourself to go, okay, over the next year,
mhm,
I understand that's not sexy and everyone wants to just meditate and the Ferrari turns up, but it puts a lot of pressure on our body, and it puts a lot of pressure on money. It's like, if you don't deliver a Ferrari, then I don't believe in you. It's like, it's not, imagine putting that pressure on another human being or on nature. If I went out to my garden and went, grow blueberries, you loser, but I only put the plant in 2 weeks ago and it's kind of not time. So it's like, that's my advice, is kind of think of your relationship with money like this beautiful, fertile part of nature. And if your relationship at the moment isn't growing what you want, that's okay. It's just a result of the conditions of the soil and where you've been at. I want everyone listening to know that this is something that can change. And if you track for people who created change, you'll see a lot of people have created amazing change in my relationship with money and my levels of like how much peace I've got in my life and how much money comes in.
mm,
So if we can change the radio station from tracking why there's not enough or why you're a loser or why you don't stack up to that person, it's like, it's not a very comforting radio station, to tracking for, change is possible. Change takes time, real lasting change, like you said, with people that become instant millionaires, real lasting change takes time. And you can cultivate an amazing, productive garden with money that
mhm,
continues to self seed. Like, one of my favorite money stories is thinking about a tomato. Someone can give you a tomato, and with that tomato, if you eat it, keep some seeds, you can grow the tomatoes for you and your whole street for the rest of your life and some. And
yeah.
money is actually the same. Money does make more money. Like the tomato makes more tomato, it's part of nature. But we have to allow it time. We have to allow it relaxation. We have to have a plan. If you don't know how to garden, hire a gardener. Do you know what I mean? Learn and just be soft, gentle, relaxed, and allow it to take time. And loving and nurturing you is a beautiful way to build your relationship with money.
Mm,
I popped a few bits in there, but that's kind of the essence. It's like, just feel that relaxation. It's like, it's allowed to take time.
mm,
We're always works in progress, always. I am, you are, we all are. We don't arrive, we just keep growing, and that's beautiful. That's part of life too.
yeah. And all that contraction and constriction, it's not. I'm coming to not accept the expression money is energy, because I don't think money is energy, but I think money flows on lines of energy. That's my little distinction. And I think when it flows on lines of ease and love and light, it's just easier than when it flows on this crunchy, fearful.
Well, it can't, it just flows around.
Yeah, yeah.
It
There's
just
a
flows
brilliant
around.
bit in Sarah's book, actually, Love Money, Money Loves You, where she talks about an icicle versus a sponge. So if you were to drip water onto an icicle, it just freezes or just rolls straight off. Where if you drop it onto a sponge, the sponge absorbs it. And she was saying that money doesn't like the icicle at all. Money wants to be in a sponge.
Oh. And it'll flow. In the book, it says it'll just flow around to the person who is a sponge. It'll just flow around to whoever's open.
So
So,
everybody, nurture your inner sponge.
yeah.
and nurture your inner self and know that you are worth it. And I love what Aisha says. It's not going to be all overnight. I mean, the idea of meditating for a Ferrari, if you think about it, if you really want a pizza and you sit there meditating, what are the chances of that pizza rolling up at your door? Not high.
Mm.
So we do, I agree with you. We need to plant the seeds, and we need to let them come in time, and we need to come away from the more fear there is, and I love the analogy as well about being in a relationship with it. Are you treating this person like a one night stand you wish would get out the door, or
Yeah.
or is it your beloved who you want to
Or
have a long and lasting deep relationship with?
yeah, or is it your first date and you're going, look, I need a 7-seater car and I require this and I need that. Are you being like, demandy pants
Hmm.
before you've given anything?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. So there was a lot of realizations that came from my behavior
Mm.
towards, yeah, those that relationship with money. Yeah. Yeah. And to me, kind of summing up where we began, this is why my work is, I describe it as embodying the spiritual. Those actions in the garden are something you do with your body. I think been a disembodiment in spirituality, which is not as useful.
For sure.
Whereas to me, money is deeply sensual. That gratitude experience I described to you was cellular. It
Mm.
wasn't an experience I had in the ether and then I came back to my regular body. It's like it happened within me. And so do you know what I mean? The seeds that you plant come from, to me, congruency, like body, mind, heart, and soul, choosing an action.
Mhm.
And this is where I think bringing it home into the body is really powerful. Because you need that for gardening. We can't spiritually garden when we're meditating in another room. It's like you've got to get out there and plant a seed. So it
Mm.
is that combination of energy and body and life coming together that's the juice. Mm.
And is that gratitude experience, is that available in pill form at all, or was that is that's a really genuine question of, was that a choice, or did it come out, did it surprise you? Did it seem to be like this kind of epiphany that you had no control over, or was it, because I know you said you were doing the things.
Yes. Yeah. So it wasn't cultivated. It was like a lot of these experiences. Wasn't an overnight experience. I think it was the final pop into my actual body from the previous year of getting really clear on the demands that I put on energy, understanding the boom and bust, like there was so much understanding. And to me, that was the final kind of poof,
And
where
had
it's,
Sorry, and
yeah.
had you started Sarah McCrum's work? Was
Yeah,
that
very much. Yeah, I was more than a year in.
right?
Yeah.
So that whole sort of exploration, having gone through a year with her.
Yes. Yes. And, seeing the patterns and, do you know what I mean? There was a lot happened. And often I have one of my teachers called it the blinding flash of the obvious. And I
Hmm.
love that. I love that saying because it sometimes it's like you've done all the learning and then it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
just got it finally at that cell. Well, not finally, but I got it at that cellular level
Mhm.
that created profound change.
And I guess there's a conscious element to it as well, isn't there? You just looking and examining what it was you were doing, because so many of us are just sleepwalking through life and sleepwalking through these relationships that we're building or not building. Like you say about the messy drawer at the bottom, that drawer in the kitchen. How many people listening, I wonder, would go, "Oh yeah, I've got one of them."
Yeah. Or the messy
Thanks
garage,
down
she
there.
says in a self-confessing tone. I said, or the messy garage, which is what I got.
Yeah, and there is an argument. I mean, feng shui is a real thing because energy needs to move. It needs to flow through.
Yeah.
Aisha, thank you so, so much. I know you have a super special free gift that our audience can get if they visit your website. Do you want to talk to us about what that is exactly?
Yes. So one of the free gift I wanted to offer in this context, so it's slightly different to it's not an enlightened money management gift, but to me it's part of that precursor work.
Hmm.
So it's called the 7-day happiness upgrade.
Okay.
So it's a series of videos that take you through the key concepts in the book, The Happiness Recipe, which are it's really about arriving home in the truth of you and living a life that's deeply congruent. And by that, I mean your body, heart, mind, and soul all saying yes to your life experiences. And when think of the energy of that, of your cellular consent to not just your relationships, but to your job, to who you are, to your preferences and lack thereof, that yes is an incredible signal to money. And it makes it a lot easier to plant the seeds in your garden that truly resonate.
Mm.
Instead of going, I'll plant this shitty seed that I don't really like, but somehow that'll grow something good. And then one day I can be happy. And I've done that. That's not a judgment if you're doing that. It's like, this is, confessional, like the garage. I've done that so many times. So the 7-day happiness upgrade will just help you understand, who you are, understand your values, understand how you're interacting with life as the unique being that you are. And it'll help you cultivate a lot more yes in your life, which is really that openness to life. And that includes money. So I hope that you listen to the videos and, go on that mental and emotional journey and receive what I really yearn to deliver in those sessions.
Thank you. I think I'm going to be going and getting that.
Yay.
Aisha, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for your beautiful, beautiful smile and your pearls of wisdom, which I am sure will have touched people very deeply.
Thank you, beautiful soul. Lovely to spend this time with you and the audience. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you.